So, cancel culture has claimed yet another victim, and unfortunately, this victim is now no longer with us. I am of course talking about Alec Holowka, the indie game dev who had a few notable games to his name. This man was accused by none other than literally who herself, Zoe Quinn, in public, in the media, of sexual abuse. And to quote comicsbeat.com, because the tweets have since been deleted, more on that later, in what amounts to 6 screenshots of iOS notes spread across 2 tweets, Quinn states they were vulnerable following a previous sexual assault in Toronto, which happened before they got involved with Holowka. Quinn writes that in this period of severe suicidal depression, insomnia and fear, they felt the fellow developer, quote-unquote developer, had their back in the game industry. Flirting was exchanged. And Quinn agreed to visit Holowka in Winnipeg on the condition that Quinn pay for the flight there and Holowka pay for the flight back after a 2-week visit. His first issue, never pay for somebody for their travel, ever. Never, 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 ever. That's his first mistake. The second was getting involved with her in the first place, a known pathological liar. During that visit, Quinn claims Holowka became verbally and sexually abusive and repeatedly put off ordering their return ticket to Toronto. He screamed at me for over an hour, once because of the tone in my voice when I said hello. About the sexual assault, he blamed me. He claimed he was jealous of me. To be wanted like that, he'd bring it up during sex, where he'd regularly be mean and violent. His moods would shift, and he would throw things and hurt himself seemingly at random and blame me. He would jam his fingers inside me and walk me around the house by them when I told him it hurt. They say they were only able to return to Toronto with the help of their roommate, who grew concerned after a period and asked if Quinn needed help with getting out. After their return to Toronto, they say they wrote a cordial and friendly breakup email to Holowka. In response, Quinn alleges that Holowka banned Quinn from an indie games community he ran, prior to banning himself, before going to other industry legends, asking them to help him kill himself because Quinn was a bitch. Quinn also claims Holowka blacklisted them from important industry events and essentially destroyed their career, which worked to a degree. And of course she goes on mentioning Gamergate, because she just can't get over that old internet controversy, which she had a part in, as small as it was, but as significant as it was, and going on about all the stuff that she essentially got herself into. Now, these are very spurious allegations, aren't they? How can somebody who's really not been well known by name until now have so much clout in the indie game scene that can get her blacklisted, considering this is Zoe Quinn? Zoe Quinn, the person who is literally one of the most powerfulest women in the indie game scene, in fact in the social justice scene, perhaps even in gaming in general, purely based on who she is, not what she does, because she only has one HTML quote-unquote game to her name. That's literally all she has, yet she has all this power, and she's always had it for a while now. So I find it hard to believe that this one guy was able to do that, and also apparently she stayed with him all this time, as opposed to run away to a friend who lived in the local area. She stayed with him and did stuff consensually as well as allegedly not so consensually. Regardless, these are the allegations, and this led to the man losing his job, his livelihood, and getting a torrent of abuse, because rather than go to the police immediately afterwards, you know, as you would expect somebody to do after they've essentially been kidnapped and forced to do, among many things, horrible sexual acts, as she detailed. Instead, she's waited a few years, as per usual in these situations, and went to the press. The reason why I just simply can't believe this is not only because she's a pathological liar and she's lied about a hell of a lot of things, it's because of the Zoe post. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Zoe post is, the Zoe post was written by an ex of hers called Erin Joney, and Erin Joney basically outlines how she abused him. And funnily enough, in that post, he mentions that she said to him that cheating is rape because it's non-consensual, because the other person who is being cheated on did not consent to any of the sex acts being enacted without their knowledge. So technically, she is a rapist by her own definition, and she's an emotionally abusive person. Now, I don't know if she ever went physical with him. All I know is that he was emotionally abused, he was cheated on, and treated like crap. So I find it hard to believe that this guy, as soon as she meets him, he's doing all this crazy stuff. She's cried wolf far too many times for me to honestly take her at her word. But unfortunately, a lot of people did, and even some people who don't like her took her word for it. And now, Holowka is dead. It was Alex's sister who broke the news to the public. One of several reasons why he died was because of friends abandoning him, jumping on the bandwagon, and attacking him. Imagine that, your own friends who you got along with for many years and colleagues you worked with and got along with as well suddenly turn against you. And not only that, your own fans and the fans of somebody who doesn't like you. All these people, these hundreds of people come in and attack you. And as a result of that, his colleagues in the game studio that he personally helped found sacked him. And not only was he fired from his job, they even cancelled the current project and postponed the limited run physical release of his game, which means he no longer has any projects at the moment. His work for the year, or maybe several years, because he's only an indie game developer, these things take time and a hell of a lot of money. No wonder he was beginning to feel emotional drain, and allegedly, according to his sister, he'd been battling a lot of personal demons and mental illness throughout his life, and the concerted harassment campaign against him, which is what cancel culture is, it is one big harassment campaign aimed at people that other people don't like. In the end, he killed himself. And not only that, allegedly, he himself was a victim of abuse. But in the end, what else is there to say? I've gone through the backstory of all of this. It doesn't matter anymore. The man is dead. Regardless if he committed a crime or not, the man is dead. If he was guilty, he can never ever pay for the crimes that he may have committed. If he's innocent, which is most likely considering who it is we're talking about as the potential victim, an innocent man has took his own life because one woman got greedy or simply did not like him. This has happened many times before. This is even before cancel culture was even a thing. Or if it was a thing, it was nowhere near as big. There was a British case where a young man, he was barely 17, 18 years old, he was falsely accused of rape. This was proven to be false. He took his own life because essentially to him, and it was, his life was ruined. He killed himself. He couldn't take it. The fact that people attacked him for something he'd never done, they assumed he was guilty. He basically thought, well, that's my future gone, because it would be, wouldn't it, when you're falsely accused of rape like that. Not only did his death result in a lot of heartache for his family and friends, it had a knock-on effect, as suicide tends to have, because his mother took her own life almost immediately afterwards. It wasn't very long after he died, and guess who found her? His sister. Just like his mum, and just like the young boy's mum found his body. And even she thought about killing herself in that moment, and I don't blame her. And if you're wondering why I might sound a little bit emotional about suicide, it's because my family has also suffered at the hands of suicide. Although it was not due to false rape allegations, it was a knock-on effect. My youngest uncle got stabbed by a gang in Manchester, which then led to the suicide of his oldest brother because he was having issues with the police. Many years later, resulted in the death of my other uncle. It was not a suicide, although my mother thinks he probably did kill himself. And then that, in the end, resulted in the death a couple of years ago, just when I started out on YouTube, which is why I took a week off in 2015, which nobody really knows about the reasons why until now. My granddad killed himself. Carbon monoxide poisoning. So you see what I mean, guys, that suicide is a big deal and it has knock-on effects. Families never recover from it. You don't get over it. And more people can die as a result of that because of emotional turmoil or anything like that. So you can see why I'm really incensed at this. Cancel culture, yet again, has proven to be the toxic influence on society that it is. This is the logical result of feminism and social justice saying to women that it's okay to go out there and accuse men willy-nilly of assault in public, and especially in the press. And if you've got the power to do it, all the more to you, because apparently the police don't take it seriously. This is another thing. It's resulted from them pumping this propaganda into women's heads that the police don't care about them, that they don't take rape seriously, and that they're going to be judged for being raped, even though it flies in the face of reality. Police take rape very seriously. In fact, they probably have always taken rape very seriously. This is why men get arrested for this. This is why footballers who have a drunken night of sex get arrested for apparent rape when it turns out it wasn't rape, it was just drunken sex. Cancel culture is the manifestation of our emotional frailties as a species and as a culture, because it is a concerted effort of individuals to coerce other individuals to destroy others. It's a group mentality thing, and it preys on people's inability to handle pressure and criticism from groups. Huge concerted groups of people can overwhelm others and make them do things they otherwise wouldn't have done. Like with Pro Jared, he also got falsely accused of sending pictures to minors and even cheating on his wife. Turns out he didn't actually cheat on her, nor did he send nudes to any minors, and was in fact manipulated by a minor, pretending to be 18. He lost a lot of revenue and he lost a lot of jobs as a result of that on YouTube. Luckily for him, he didn't kill himself, although I'm sure he may have had some kind of deep, dark feelings inside of himself urging him to do so, if any of the text messages he shared are to go by. That's cancel culture. That's what it does. It creates vigilante justice. It uses the mob to attack people. And I'm failing to think of anybody who actually has been found guilty of anything that cancel culture has been used against, that have accused other people of wrongdoing. Has anyone actually been guilty of anything that these people have thrown at them? James Charles, innocent. Pro Jared, innocent. This guy, most likely innocent. I mean, this is just the worst aspect of it. The least worst aspect of it is just removing someone from their job, like Sarah Silverman, who, by the way, created all of this, allegedly. I've heard that she's the one who started cancel culture. Even she's now been cancelled because of some jokes of a racial nature when she was an edgy comedian back in the day, before she sold out. And I think it shows, really, the opposite of what they're trying to prove. Because a lot of these cancel culture types are SJWs, and they believe that women get the short end of the stick when it comes to allegations of rape. Society overwhelmingly backs a woman, regardless if they're telling the truth or not. Nobody sits back and thinks, hang on a sec, is this really the case? Is this man actually guilty, or is he innocent? We just forget that innocent until proven guilty is a thing for a reason. We just assume the man's guilty because it's a woman. Why would she lie? It's such a serious allegation to make, even though they never ever go to the police first. Ever. Now what about Zoe Quinn? Did she cause him to die? Did she kill him? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that indirectly, her setting the mob on him and ruining his livelihood and career and basically resulting in his mental state deteriorating rapidly. Yeah, there is some case there that she did cause his death. But no, because he took his own life. He made the decision, unfortunately, to do it by his own hand. But don't get me wrong, she's definitely responsible. She has responsibility, because she goes on and on and on, doesn't she, about responsibility that people in power have towards those who don't, whether it be game developers, YouTubers, political activists. Yet, here she is, once again, showing her own reckless abandon in playing with people's lives and mental well-beings. She did this with Wizard Chan way back in the day, did it against the Vine Young Capitalists, she did it against Gamergate, and her own boyfriend, and maybe even other partners. And the backlash against her was so great and so deserved that she deleted her public Twitter and retreated to her private Twitter because of the shame. Now, unfortunately, I don't think anything is going to happen to her. I don't think she's going to be punished for this. I don't think she'd ever get accused of murder or even manslaughter. I don't think the authorities will arrest her for trying to pervert the cause of justice or anything like that because she never reported him to the police. I don't know how they're going to arrest her and charge her with things. Maybe there is a charge, but I think she's going to get away with it. She always gets away with this. The only thing that we can do as the denizens of the internet is to watch out for these groups of people, to watch out for the likes of her who will use the mob to destroy people. We have to look at the facts. We have to look at what's going on and make sure that these people are telling the truth. And the problem is, I don't think people are going to learn their lesson. I really don't. We will forget about this. The cycle will continue because in many ways it's in human nature to automatically believe these assumptions. It's human nature to go with the crowd, to do what other people are doing. It's subconscious. You don't even know you're doing it half the time. It happened with Pro Jared, and it happened to a lesser extent with Alec. And now, here we are, a death. Well done, Zoe. Looks like you failed to heed your own words, and you have indirectly caused somebody to die. I hope you can live with that.